Imagine stepping inside a dimly lit canvas where every shadow holds a secret. Outside, the night is still and vast. Inside, two figures stand near a glowing candle, frozen in a brief, quiet moment. The air feels calm, filled only with the faint scent of warm wax. Judith has just completed a central task in her journey. Her partner, Abra, carefully adjusts a package they carry together. But as they prepare to move forward, a subtle shift in the room changes everything. Welcome to MUZEA, Story Behind the Painting. Today we are analyzing Artemisia Gentileschi's compelling Baroque masterpiece, Judith and Her Maidservant. For centuries, classical artists depicted this historical story with broad gestures and bright, open staging. But in the 1620s, Artemisia Gentileschi chose a completely different direction. She didn't capture the obvious motion. Instead, she painted something far more quiet, a moment of pure focus and quiet anticipation. Today, we look into 17th century Rome and travel to Detroit, where the painting hangs today, discovering how a talented artist created one of the most memorable works in art history.
Welcome to Story Behind the Painting, where we dive into the most famous art works and learn a lot from that.
Let's step inside the frame. What exactly are we seeing here? The scene is lit entirely by a single source of light, a lone candle on a dark velvet-draped table on the left. The flame casts a warm glow across the composition, bringing clarity to the quiet space behind the figures. On the right stands Judith, the central figure of the narrative. She is a realistic mid-30s woman with a commanding presence. She wears a striking gown of brilliant golden yellow silk, a pigment art historians call Artemisia gold. Judith raises her left hand to shield her face from the candle flame so she can look into the dark room. With her right hand, she securely holds a heavy metallic object near her shoulder. She stands her ground with total composure. Positioned near her is her companion Abra. Artemisia paints Abra as a youthful partner in the journey rather than a passive onlooker. Her head is wrapped in a distinctive tied headscarf that marks her role. She works carefully at ground level, quietly securing their central package into a coarse fabric bag. Look closely at the lower left corner. On the table alongside the candle lies a dark metallic gauntlet and a soft velvet fabric. Artemisia includes these still life details to ground the scene in physical reality, the hard, cold metal contrasted against soft, luxurious fabrics. So, where and when was this masterpiece created, and where can you see it today? Artemisia painted this vast canvas, measuring roughly 6 feet tall by 4.5 feet wide, between 1623 and 1627, during her second period living in Rome. Today, this iconic piece resides at the Detroit Institute of Arts in Michigan, where it is recognized as one of the jewel crowns of their collection. To understand its spatial and historical context, we look to the classical narrative of Judith. The city of Bethulia was under severe pressure from an advancing force. Facing extreme hardship, the inhabitants considered surrendering. Judith, a wealthy resident, decided to act independently. She dressed in her finest attire, entered the main camp under the pretense of offering dialogue, gained the leader's trust, and attended a private meeting in his tent. Once the leader was asleep, Judith took action to secure her community's safety. Artemisia bypasses the dramatic action itself and sets her scene in the immediate aftermath, the high-stakes moment between the event and escape, where one creaking board or rustling tent flap could change everything. Who commissioned this painting, and why was a subject like this so popular in the 17th century? An exact surviving contract with the original client has not been definitively identified. Records show that during her second Roman period in the 1620s, Artemisia ran an exceptionally sought-after workshop. Letters written by her contemporaries confirm that her studio was constantly frequented by patrons. Those patrons included leadership figures and high-ranking nobility eager to buy her works. In Counter-Reformation Europe, the story of Judith was an ideological favorite. The movement promoted Judith as a symbol of victory over opposition and adversity. But why did patrons specifically seek out Artemisia's version? Artemisia offered something no male painter could match. Male contemporaries often treated Judith as a distant or symbolic figure. Artemisia brought an incredible sense of human truth and female solidarity to the story. Patrons weren't just buying a historical scene, they were purchasing a high-stakes dramatic narrative packed with psychological depth. Her works also showcased brilliant fabric rendering and breathtaking lighting. To truly understand this painting, we must understand the extraordinary woman behind it, Artemisia Gentileschi. She was born in Rome in 1593 as the daughter of Orazio Gentileschi, a prominent painter and follower of Caravaggio. Showing brilliant artistic promise from a young age, she trained in her father's studio alongside her brothers. She quickly surpassed them in talent and developed a powerful, individual style. Early in her career, Artemisia faced profound personal challenges while studying under Agostino Tassi. The situation led to a lengthy, high-profile legal battle where she had to continuously defend her integrity and standing as an artist. Despite these immense early obstacles and deep personal losses later in life, Artemisia refused to let her story be written by others. She relocated to Florence and broke historical barriers by becoming the first woman admitted to the Accademia delle Arti del Disegno. She learned to read and write, built networks with leading thinkers like Galileo, and managed a thriving international career. She famously wrote to a patron, "I will show what a woman can do, and you will find the courage of a leader in the soul of a woman." Technically and materially, Artemisia was a genius of oil on canvas. She utilized a technique perfected by Caravaggio called tenebrism, where dark tonalities dominate and light acts like a theatrical spotlight. To achieve the dramatic depth of Judith and Her Maidservant, Artemisia applied multiple layers of oil glazes over a dark reddish-brown ground. She built up the radiant Artemisia gold of Judith's dress with rich yellow ochre and lead tin yellow. She layered translucent glazes to make the silk shimmer against velvet and dark metallic elements. The single candle flame acts as a focal point, drawing the viewer's eye to Judith's hand, the shadow across her face, and the object held securely in her grasp. Artemisia Gentileschi painted the story of Judith at least 7 times throughout her career, but it is this version in Detroit that stands as her undisputed masterpiece. It is a culmination of her technical skill, psychological depth, and personal voice. For generations, art history often viewed Artemisia through a narrow, sensationalized lens. Scholars treated her paintings purely as expressions of personal reaction to her early hardships. But to reduce a work like Judith and Her Maidservant to simple personal reaction is to miss its true genius. Artemisia bypassed the overt dramatic conflict to capture something far more profound, a quiet, high-stakes moment of pure agency. She placed 2 women at the center of a shared destiny rather than showing Judith as an isolated figure. They are not master and servant in a rigid hierarchy, but a coordinated team bound by mutual trust. Unflinching bravery and absolute composure let them operate in perfect synchronization under extreme pressure. In a 17th century world where women were often relegated to passive roles, Artemisia used oil, canvas, and light to rewrite the narrative. She gave her subjects intelligence, physical strength, and strategic minds. Judith and Her Maidservant isn't just a 17th century Baroque painting. It is a cinematic slice of human suspense. It remains a timeless testament to resilience, technical brilliance, and the enduring power of an artist who dared to show the world what a woman could achieve. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Story Behind the Painting. If you want to experience Judith and Her Maidservant like never before, you need to check out the MUZEA app. With MUZEA, you can zoom in on high-resolution scans to see every single brushstroke of Artemisia's gold silk, explore interactive historical timelines, and listen to expert-led audio tours for thousands of famous artworks resting in top museums across the globe. Download the MUZEA app today on the App Store or Google Play Store, or click the link in the description below to start your free trial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, letting us know which painting we should cover in episode 34. Until next time, keep exploring the art around you.
Welcome to Story Behind the Painting, where we dive into the most famous art works and learn a lot from that.